You're listening to the Entrepreneur Ignited podcast, where we aim to simplify online business so you can make more money. Now, here's your host, Gehl.
Hi, Gehl here, and welcome to the Entrepreneur Ignited podcast. And in this episode, I want to talk about what I see as one of the number one entrepreneurial success killers. And the good news is there's a simple cure, and I'm going to share that cure with you. Now, let me ask you a question. Have you ever been presented with an opportunity or an investment, a real estate deal or something that had all the makings of success, but you never took action? Have you ever thought, hey, this looks like a great way to improve my life or my financial future? Maybe it was a career change or a new business idea or an investment of some sort, but you never took action. Now, I was speaking at an event last weekend in Sydney, Australia, and I'm actually still in Australia. I haven't made it home yet to West Vancouver. I've still got a few weeks ahead of me. Now, while I was at this event where I was speaking I was at the University of New South Wales, I was approached by a very, very nice lady, and her name was Caroline, and she was a mom. Had two kids, I believe, and she was also a healthcare worker. Now, she listened to my talk about digital businesses, and after my talk, she approached me and she said something that I hear a lot, and it went something like this. I'm trying to get this out of my memory, so it's maybe not verbatim, but it's close. She said, I've always wanted to start an internet business because I see it as a way to accelerate my income. And I know if I applied myself, I could probably come up with an idea. In fact, I've been kicking this around for quite a few years now, and time is ticking. And so I turned to Caroline and I asked her, I said, well, what's stopping you? Is it time? Is it money? And Caroline thought about it for a moment and said, it's not the money, since I know I can start an online business pretty cheap. It's not that expensive compared to, say, an offline business. And I could make the time, but what if I come up with an idea and it doesn't work? Boom. There it was. The silent success killer. The fear of failure. Now, this killer is rampant and is probably the number one silent killer of entrepreneurial dreams. And I see it all the time, and it frustrates the heck out of me. And it's a shame that it's so rampant because it's so preventable, because it's in your head. You know, look, I'm a pretty pragmatic guy, but the fact of the matter is if you don't have the right mindset about failure and risk, you're never going to succeed in anything beyond being a good employee. So in this podcast, I want to talk about the cure. I want to change your mindset so that we can shut off that fear of failure that's preventing you from achieving your entrepreneurial dreams. And the good news is this: it's a pretty simple cure. It's pretty darn easy. But let me be clear. The cure I'm about to subscribe is kind of focused on people who are pursuing online businesses. And due to the nature of this podcast, I would assume you're either have an online business or are pursuing an online business or want to pursue an online business. And I guess this cure could be applied to maybe offline businesses or other investing activities, real estate, stuff like that. But in the world of digital business and online businesses, risk is so much smaller than these other vehicles to increase your income. So, what I'm talking about really applies to starting an internet business. Now, there's two steps to this cure to prevent that fear of failure. And so let's jump into step one, and that is quantifying the risk. Now, 99% of the time when someone says to me, what if I try this, Derek, and I start an online business and it doesn't work? And I simply respond with the same question. Exactly. What if it doesn't work? And that is exactly what I did with Caroline at the event the other weekend. And here's how the conversation went. Caroline's response was a typical, well, I don't know. That's why I'm asking you. To which I responded, you do know. Let's break it down. So that's what we did. And here's what it looks like. When you're starting a digital business, coming up with product ideas, doing market research, that's cheap. There's lots of free tools out there. Or for less than $100, you can own a powerful market research tool like Market Samurai, which is going to accelerate that market research, help you find niche markets and product ideas. Now, once you find a niche market that has interest and has potential, obviously you need to figure out what to sell them. And the beauty of the internet is you can source and come up and test product ideas dirt cheap. Whether it's digital, whether it's affiliate, even physical products. And I mean, what people don't realize, you can even test selling a product before you ever develop the product. So again, what's our risk here? It's very little. But I mean, compare it to an offline business. In an offline business, we'd have to buy potentially, physical inventory and warehouse it in stores and storefronts. On the internet, that does not exist. Okay. So our risk so far, pretty little. Now, what about websites? Do we need to spend thousands of dollars to build websites? No. We can have a website up and running with a domain, hosting, using powerful technology, and ready to take payment with even some custom graphics for under $100 or less. It's not expensive. You can make it expensive, but if you know the right way to do it, it's not expensive. Then we need to drive traffic. So do we need to go out there and spend thousands of dollars driving traffic? Nope, you don't. I mean, if you wanted to, you could focus on free traffic sources just to test things out if you really were on a budget. If you want to get things going a little bit faster, you can test targeted traffic to a website for even just a few $100s to get results, to figure out if it's going to work. Now, of course, on the website, you need to create content, but you can create content yourself. That's just your time that you're investing. So once Caroline and I had finished working our way through quantifying the risk, I helped her draw the conclusion that she'll have time that she's invested learning how to do this, how to do market research and test and create the websites and drive traffic. And then, maybe potentially at max a few $100s. First of all, I can't think of any other business that you could test for that little cost. And so at this point, I said to Caroline, now imagine for a moment, Caroline, for the next 90 days, you allocate a percentage of your spare time every week learning all the skills you need to set up your first site and online business. Maybe you've invested a few $100s to start driving traffic, and you find out that the idea isn't getting the results you were hoping for. Did you fail? At which point Caroline said to me, yes. Now, for everyone listening, this is where entrepreneurs think very differently. And if you want to be an entrepreneur, whether it's offline or online, you must shift your mindset if you want to succeed. And that is where I was determined to shift Caroline's thinking as well. Because, look, a true entrepreneur does not see what Caroline and I just walked through as failure. First, Caroline has gone through a process, has created a website, has tested it out, is driving traffic. So she's created an asset, okay? An asset that is a website, that is getting traffic, that has content on it. So at the very worst, if she decided, well, I don't want to be in this niche at all anymore, she could go to a site like flippa.com and auction it off and probably get back the money she invested out of it. So the real investment here for Caroline or for anybody starting a new business from scratch while they're learning is the investment of time you're putting in. And the fact is, time is a finite resource and it does have a value. But does Caroline have nothing to show for the time she's invested? No way. She's got a ton to show from it. One of the things I learned early on from my mentor, Corey, was there's no such thing as a failure. As long as you've learned something along the way, you can apply that in the future. So it's a lesson that's now taking you one step closer to success. In fact, one of my favorite quotes, entrepreneurial quotes, comes from Thomas Edison, probably one of the most prolific inventors in the world. And the quote is, "I have not failed, I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. Now, the good news is you don't have to find 10,000 ways that won't work. But the whole point of that is every time you learn something, that goes into your entrepreneurial toolbox, and you're going to apply that to the next thing you do. And that's the beauty of the internet. You can test small. You can test fast. So let's go back to Caroline. Now, Caroline now has the skills to come up with product ideas, build sales websites, and drive traffic. She's learned a lot about the market she was trying to sell to, and she can now take those lessons and apply it to her next online business, which is going to be way faster and way easier. Those are skills she now has for life. That's not a failure. That's massive, massive value. You know, like I said, the one thing I learned from my mentor, Corey, was to fail small and fail fast. And again, that is the beauty of the internet. You can come up with an idea, and once you know the process, once you know the system, you can test an idea for a few $100s. And once you have the skills, you can test them quickly. You know, when I see people spending thousands of dollars on inventory and websites, before they know if a business idea is going to succeed, I shake my head, because that's not how you do it. That's not how I do it. That's not how I teach other people to do it. You test small, you test fast. Are you going to fail once in a while? Absolutely. That is part of being an entrepreneur. But every little failure is actually a valuable lesson, taking you one step closer to hitting that financial home run. Now, that's not to say your first idea is going to be a bomb. Not even close. I'm not saying you're going to fail. If you know how to do the research, the internet makes it a lot easier to find good business ideas fast. But I wanted to drive the point home. People don't take action because they are afraid of failure. But whenever you quantify the real risks, like I did with Caroline, when it comes to digital business, is there really any risk? Well, no, not much. It's almost non-existent. Compared to any other investment opportunity, any other business opportunity that exists out there, way to increase your income, business to start, I can't think of one that has a lower financial risk than an internet business. But as I said before, there are two parts to the cure. So we just talked about part one, which is quantifying the risk. But I want to now move to the second part of this cure, the second step. And it's not as measurable or tangible. This is the soft cure, the soft skill. And the second step in this cure is simply surround yourself with supportive, like-minded people and quit caring what other people think. You know, as a species, the majority of the human race cares what people think about them. The people around you, you care. You want people to like and respect you. And, you know, of course, there's people out there that could care less what other people think about them. But I would say that's probably a minority, not a majority. And it can be under this underlying need for acceptance, respect, approval that drives us to avoid putting ourselves in a position where we could fail or appear to have failed. So, look, I get it. Quitting caring what other people think is easier said than done. But if you can recognize and identify the emotion when it's preventing you from moving forward, then you're more likely to get past it. But honestly, the best way to overcome this self-defeating programming is simply to surround yourself with other like-minded people, entrepreneurial people. In fact, one of my favorite quotes is from Jim Rohn, who's an American entrepreneur, motivational speaker. And he says, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And I know this to be true. So ask yourself, make a list. Who are the 5 people you spend the most time with? Now, since you're listening to this podcast, I'm going to assume that you have entrepreneurial aspirations. Now, once you've made a list of these people, it's time to ask yourself, do these people support my goals? Do I want to be the average of these 5 people? If the answer is no, then you may want to shift who you're spending time with. Now, look, I'm not telling you to abandon your close friends and family, but to start seeking out other like-minded people that are already on the path to where you want to be. That's why I love going to entrepreneurial events, workshops, masterminds, conferences. Whether I'm speaking at them or attending them, I love surrounding myself with that positive energy and entrepreneurial mindset. If you have a spouse or a partner that has a different mindset, just let them know what your goals and dreams are and make sure that they know how important your goals are to you. And if they don't want to participate, at least to be supportive. Guys, I can honestly say that my wife, Coraline, is my biggest cheerleader and biggest supporter. And I don't think I'd be where I am today without her. So, look, in summary, if you want to make a change in your life and you've been teetering on the brink of pursuing your own digital business, then ask yourself, what's stopping you? Even if you don't have the perfect idea, just take action and start learning. Action creates opportunity. Even if you don't know where to start, just pick a niche that interests you. Build a blog. Start learning. Start learning about driving traffic, emails, WordPress. And I guarantee that through the process, the ideas will come if they're not there yet. But sitting around doing nothing will get you exactly that. Nothing. So, quit letting the fear of failure stifle your success. An online business it's one of the lowest risk opportunities I can think of to accelerate your income. I've quantified the risk for you. Now it's up to you. Find a way to surround yourself with people that are where you want to be, or at least have the same goals and aspirations, and take action. And, as we conclude this podcast, I'm going to leave you with another one of my favorite entrepreneurial quotes. And it is this. It's from Anonymous. Don't know where it came from, but it really resonates with me. Entrepreneurship, starting your own business, is living a few years of your life like most people won't, so that you can spend the rest of your life like most people can't. And that's so true. If you're willing to set those fears aside, take action, invest in yourself, start something, create something that's going to allow you to quit trading your time for money, to generate potentially real passive income, real income from websites, but most importantly, having the skills to do that. If you make the sacrifices today, you can have a fantastic life tomorrow. But I guess the question is, are you willing to take those steps? Well, that's up to you. So, in summary, this is Derek Gehl signing off. And don't forget, if you like this episode, make sure you head over to iTunes and subscribe to the podcast. And by all means, leave a rating and a review. And if you're an Android user, you'll also find us on SoundCloud.com or on our website at entrepreneurignited.com/podcast. This is Derek Gehl signing off, and I'll see you in the next episode.
You're listening to the Entrepreneur Ignited podcast, where we aim to simplify online business so you can make more money.